So often when we have conversations with people that are difficult conversations, we will lose friendships, we'll lose relationships because things get heated. One question that we had was talk how to forgive and what that looks like. I've never heard practical advice on this subject. And this is something that we both share. My dad and I share the same faith. So a lot of our perspective on this comes from what we know about our faith and why we believe what we believe. But before we even touch on that, something that I've learned in my own life when it comes to forgiveness are two main points. One, you don't have to seek restoration of the relationship to forgive. And well, there's 3 points. Two, when you hold on thinking that forgiving someone somehow gives them power, that unforgiveness will fester in you to a point that it can destroy. That's really what will control you, the unforgiveness, not the forgiveness. And then the last point that I have learned in my life is if you choose to forgive so that you can have some semblance of a relationship, maybe it won't be what you ever hoped it was. Maybe you have to mourn the loss of that relationship because it isn't going to be what you wanted it to be, or there's hurt feelings or many other ways to look at this. When you engage with that person and you see their brokenness and you see that they're still carrying stuff, once you move through forgiving them, it's okay to, and I use this language, let them carry their own luggage. It's their baggage. It's their emotional stuff. You can hear it. You can sit and listen. You can empathize, but it's really incredibly freeing to be able to listen and not take it on yourself. And I think a lot of us, when we forgive, we think that we have to continue to carry their luggage for them, so to speak.
Right, exactly. You're right. Forgiveness is a violation of some law. When you're experiencing an interaction with someone and there's a need for forgiveness, there's been some action that has occurred in your life that has caused you to experience pain. And so what you're looking for is some kind of reparation. You're looking for some kind of recognition on their part that will give you a sense of reparation in your own life. A lot of people struggle with forgiveness, and they may even say they forgive someone, but when they find themselves around them or they hear the same or they're experiencing something similar to their experience with a person, they can find that emotional energy kind of pops up into their throat and there's that nervousness and they're still holding on to that need to see that reparation take place, that repairing take place, that some kind of balance of the scales has got to occur. It's got to occur so that things will be equal. For instance, I've had many experiences in my life where someone has violated my personal space and has caused me pain. First thing that rises in me is anger because I want a sense of justice about this situation. I want them to experience the pain that I'm going through. I want them to experience the requirement of the balance of the law. So I then began to stand as a judge over them in my interaction with them. And so the forgiveness part has to do with learning how to let go of it. It doesn't mean that you necessarily re-engage with the person because the person may just be a person who's not going to really learn and change at all. And so you need to begin to set your boundaries up clearly with the person, with yourself, with the person, and know how far you can go with that person. And that's going to be safety for you in your interpersonal relationship with them. They may not change, right? To forgive them doesn't mean that the other person's going to change. Forgiveness means that you're free from like you said, from the load of that emotional entanglement with the sense of justice that you have.
And forgiveness, I think it's important to remember that you can go through the process of forgiving someone and not feel better immediately. It can take time in your own space, maybe working with a therapist, maybe there's a book or something you can go through. I'm sure you can recommend something.
There's a book by Harriet Lerner called Why Don't You Apologize? That's a really, really good book. I think of all the books she's written, Dance of Anger, that's one that's really good on communication. These two books I think are her best works. Why Don't You Apologize is really, really good. Harriet Lerner.
So take time for yourself, and that can be years potentially, to feel like you have really, truly forgiven. And when you are interacting with that person, that you feel okay, that you're not bothered by it. You
yes, Okay,
intensity
so
come up.
then how do you feel okay? So that's the real question is how do
Mhm.
you feel okay, right? Because there's a violation of something that's taken away from you. Something very important is taken away from you. How do you feel okay about it? Because you're attached to that sense of reciprocity. So somehow you need to have that sense of filling in your own life that enables you to be able to let go of that reciprocity. That's what forgiveness is, letting go of the reciprocity of seeing some kind of justice take place in another person's life. So that's really important. I can give you an illustration. Of course, it's not the most profound experience of forgiveness. And the person didn't even know that the person was actually taking something away from me. When I was in college, I was struggling with my studies. I was taking Greek, Koine Greek, which is biblical Greek. I had a professor that I just absolutely thought hung the moon. I would say that if I were Greek Orthodox, I would have a picture of him on my wall and venerate him. I was so impressed with him. He was my Greek teacher, and I have to say that he was probably the worst Greek teacher I've ever had. Nevertheless, I thought he was brilliant, and he was brilliant. So there was another student in class who was in the front of the class, and I sat in the back of the class. And I couldn't get it. I couldn't get it. And the person in the front of the class was getting everything, all the stuff. It was like he was answering all the questions. And I grew to hate this person. Of course, you could say this was my narcissistic personality at the time. He was taking away my receiving glory by the professor looking at me and saying, you've done a good job, Joe. You're really a wonderful student. He was taking my glory away. I grew over the semester to hate this person, literally. And in my mind, I was imagining all kinds of really horrible things in my head toward that person. One day, Christian college, we're going to, and they have chapel. Thank God for the chapel. I don't even remember what the chapel was about, but in general, is about forgiveness. And so the idea of the concept of blessing is important in forgiveness. Walking out of the chapel and going to class, and I see this particular person walk down this long hallway, and immediately that sense of anger and rage flew up inside of me as I saw him. Partly my conscience, and I think also God speaking to me, says, Joe, as you pass by him, ask me to bless him. Now, a person who is empty cannot bless another person. A person who's full can bless another person. God has filled me with his blessing in my life. As I walk, I said, really, really, oh, I can't. And the emphasis was in my brain, yes, this is what you need to do. And so as he walked past me, he didn't even look at me. I didn't look at him. I just said in my own mind, in my own quick prayer, Lord, bless this person today and what he does. Bless him. In my head, I said that. And I'm telling you, it was like a miracle. It was like all of a sudden this weight fell off my shoulders. Unbelievable. I was like, had some kind of energy drink inside of me. I was full of energy. I was excited about what was going to happen that day. No depression was occurring. It was really amazing. It was an experience that I'd never had before in my entire life. It taught me how to really understand this whole concept of forgiveness, because forgiveness actually frees you as an individual from the entanglement of the reciprocity.
Which speaks to what I had said in the beginning, which is we have this desire to hold on to the unforgiveness as some level of power. If I don't forgive this person, it feels good to not forgive them, and because then I can just hold on to it forever and never, and it never gets forgotten either.
There is a joy in that sense of revenge, that sense of holding on to the anger. There actually is a joy to that. That joy will begin to eat away at who you are. That anger will begin to eat away if you hold it. Because what it does to you is make you more and more entangled in the reciprocity. I need to have this person dealt with in my life. Otherwise, I will never. And see, what's happening is you're still entangled with the other person. Even though you're not even around the person, you're still entangled, and they have power over you at that point. They don't even know it, but they do. They have power over you. And the real experience of forgiveness is that a release of that power and you feeling empowered in your own life.
Don't let them live rent free.
In your head, right.